Welcome to Unfiltered and Unstoppable with Rob Romesburg. Real strategies for real advisors, a podcast that dives into what it takes to scale a thriving financial practice. Each week, we'll discuss actionable strategies, tools, and insights to keep you ahead in today's financial landscape. From innovative products and powerful marketing tactics, you'll get unfiltered truth and unstoppable strategies. Let's get started by building your unstoppable financial practice today.
Welcome back to Unfiltered and Unstoppable, Real Strategies for Real Advisors. I am your host, Rob Romesburg, Senior Vice President of Marketing with Gradient Financial Group. And as always, thank you for spending part of your day with us. Today's conversation is one that I believe has become more important than ever. We are talking about client education campaigns, specifically campaigns that build credibility. That's important. That's really what we want to focus on today. Those education campaigns that are really compounding, that are investing in you, but also investing at the same time with your prospects and clients. Because let's be honest, the financial advice business has changed. Your prospects have changed, your clients have changed, and perhaps even most importantly, the way that people decide who they trust their retirement with has completely changed. You know, 20 years ago, credibility might have been built if you had a business card, or even more impressive, if you had a logo on your business card. 10 years ago, it was just simply reliant on referrals. Not that referrals aren't an important piece of credibility today, but it was a primary source of credibility. Today, however, credibility now more than ever is built through education, meaning the advisor who is consistently teaching, educating, explaining, simplifying, and guiding prospects and clients. That's the advisor that wins. Because you know the retirees and pre-retirees in today's environment, they don't simply want products. They're looking for confidence. They don't want performance. They want performance, but that's not what they're looking for. That now more than ever, that they want clarity, and more than ever, they don't want another salesperson. They they are looking for that individual that can help them make sense of increasingly complex decisions. And today we're going to discuss exactly how educational campaigns position you as the trusted expert in your community. We're going to go through why is education so powerful in today's environment, the biggest mistakes that we are seeing advisors make right now. We're going to go through a real advisor success story, and then also some specific campaigns that you are going to be able to implement immediately, and then finally actionable items and systems that you will be able to build credibility long before a prospect even steps foot in your office. So let's go ahead and dive in here today. So something that's fascinating to me right now, we all have more access to more information than at any point in time in history, just off of this little thing right here, your phone, which I don't even, why do we even call it a phone? We barely even use it as a phone anymore, right? Texting, emailing, Googling, social mediaing, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, man, I've gotta use this thing as a phone." Right? We uh, don't leave me a voicemail, just text me, right? Like, I isn't that wild? They're called phones, but that's about the last thing they are used for today. But overall, beyond that, we've got YouTube to learn from, AI, and yet we people, prospects, clients feel more confused than ever because here, the thing is, information's not the problem. The interpretation is. Retirees aren't asking, "Can I find information?" What they're asking is, "Can I trust what I'm reading?" Fake news, right? That we all know about fake news. We all know about misinformation. That how does this apply to me? Oh my gosh, I'm going to pull the trigger here. What mistake might I make that I don't even know to ask about? Who's going to actually help me navigate this once I move this all forward? And that's why educational marketing i- is so incredibly powerful. The best advisors out there understand something important. People rarely hire advisors because of what they know. They hire advisors because of how they make them feel. And I've said this over and over again. For those that are consistent listeners, are probably like broken record, man. And I get it, but it's still true, and it relates to our topic today. They- How do you make them feel? How do you make your prospects feel? How do you make your clients feel? Do they feel informed? Do they feel heard? Do they feel prepared? Do they feel protected? Every educational campaign that you are creating, that you are sending out, that your prospects and clients are reading, should immediately answer those questions. Because every email, every seminar, every video, every podcast episode, every social media post is quite frankly either building trust or it's just wasting attention or it's just freaking just air out there, white noise more specifically. You know, some of the biggest mistakes that I've seen out there is that the advisors making believing that education itself just means overwhelming people with information. And trust me, credibility does not come from complexity. It just doesn't. That that advisor who uses the most technical language, promise you, earns the least amount of trust. The advisor who's making retirement the most understandable earns the most trust. So just think to yourself, what are some of the common questions that my clients are actually asking? What are When should I take Social Security? How much can I safely spend on? What happens if taxes go up? What if Medicare costs increase? Um, can I help my kids without hurting my retirement? How much market risk should I take? None of those are investment questions. Those are life questions. That's what people are wanting to know now. The answers to those life questions. And you, the advisor who educates around life problems, promise you, you are the one that's creating the strongest relationships, stronger relationships than the advisor who's just simply educating around products. There's a lot of campaigns out there that begin with, here's our strategy. But the best campaigns that I've seen out there begin with, here's the problem you are facing. Here are the solutions that we provide with that problem. Because guess what? Shocker. Clients aren't waking up today worried about their annuity rider. They're waking up worried about, am I going to run out of money? And they aren't waking up thinking, oh man, you know what I need to do is I need to take another look at my asset allocation today. They are waking up wondering, am I going to be able to retire comfortably? And if you are doing a good job with educating, and if you are making sure that you are the separator in that realm, answering life questions, that education is what brings that gap between you and your competition down the street. So just to share a brief story from one of my advisors that I've worked with for several years. This is an individual very hardworking. He's very intelligent, clearly genuinely cared about his clients, but he kept running into the same issue over and over. He felt like with every meeting, it, it just felt like there was so much skepticism at the very beginning. He could tell that the prospect felt like they were getting sold. And then all of a sudden, we got down the rabbit trail of fees. And then he just felt like all that they were doing was comparing me. And honestly, when we get into the fee conversation, we get down that rabbit trail. That's probably what's happening. Is just a comparison. Like, is Walmart cheaper than Target? And you don't. Let's get out of that. And he was holding large seminars, and despite that, his conversion rate wasn't where he wanted it to be. And like many of us, he thought, oh, the answer is simple. I just need more seminars and I need more attendees. But once we got involved and we really rolled up our sleeves, took a step back, we took a look at the analytics, attendance wasn't the issue, credibility was the issue. So instead of adding more seminars, we changed the entire approach. We built an educational campaign around three topics: Social Security timing, retirement tax planning, healthcare and Medicare costs. He recorded several short videos. We started educational emails. We created a downloadable retirement checklist. And what was happening is when someone would register for the workshops, immediately they were set into this drip email campaign. And then we stopped leading with products. We started leading with education, and immediately the results were dramatic. We saw that the attendance numbers didn't change. However, his appointment rates went through the roof. And prospects were showing up in his office. You know what? Hey, Jim, I've been watching your videos. I've been reading your articles, and you know what? That explanation you said there, that made sense. I'm glad we met face to face because I was wondering about that. Or my favorite was, hey, I feel like I already know you. And just think about how powerful that is when you hear that. And that's before the first appointment ever even happened, right? We are establishing trust before the first appointment. That's the purpose and the power of educational marketing. I want to walk you through five educational campaigns that every advisor should be running out there, especially if you are serving pre-retirees and retirees. Five of the educational campaigns that I've seen consistently work, not because they're flashy or complicated, but because they address the questions that are keeping your prospects awake at night. Well, once again, the goal of educational marketing isn't just simply to generate more appointments. It's to create an experience for the prospect, where when someone walks away and what they're saying is, "Man, did this advisor really understand what I'm going through?" So let's break down these five campaigns. The first one, retirement tax planning. Uh, Topics, some great topics there: future tax rates, Roth conversions, RMDs, tax diversification, legacy taxation. And why this campaign works is because, most retirees spend decades focused on growing their money, but very, very few spend enough time actually thinking about how much that money that they're actually going to keep. And the truth is, taxes are actually one of the biggest risks facing retirees over the next 20 years. And especially for those that aren't necessarily worried, quote, about the stock market, that they are definitely worried about writing massive checks to the IRS. That they're worried about what happens if tax rates go up. Are my children will they inherit a tax problem? Are, are my retirement accounts a ticking tax bomb? I've heard that a lot. Are Medicare costs going to increase because of my income? So we're not talking about overwhelming them with tax code. That's not what we need from this campaign. We're just creating awareness, right? We're leaving them thinking, man, you know what? I didn't realize taxes would impact retirement this much. And even more importantly, do I actually have a retirement tax plan in place? And so what's happening there, the prospect experience that you're trying to create is clarity. You want them to walk out of your workshop, finishing your video, reading your emails, feeling like someone out there finally explained this in plain English. Because once again, the advisor who simplifies creates trust, specifically with taxes and taxation. Campaign number two, Social Security maximization. Those topics would be things like filing strategies, spousal benefits, widow benefits, the timing considerations of when should I actually trigger, some of the common mistakes that you've seen out there. Social Security is the foundation of a successful retirement. It's actually one of the biggest decisions, financial decisions that a retiree would make. And yet, many retirees admit that they don't fully understand how it works. Hence the opportunity, right? And for many couples specifically, this decision represents hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of their retirement that they could be missing out on. And everyone out there, this is why Social Security is such a powerful topic. Everyone out there believes they're missing something. They're wondering, should I trigger at 62, or should I wait until 70? Oh my gosh, what happens when if my spouse passes away? I I know it. Social Security is going to run out. I hear that all the time. Am I making a mistake here? And this campaign right here, this is where you position yourself as a guide rather than just a salesperson. And that prospect should not be walking away thinking, this advisor sold me. What they need to be walking away thinking is, this advisor helped me understand one of the most important decisions of my retirement. That shift in the perception, that's incredibly powerful. Because education itself creates confidence, and then guess what? Confidence creates appointments. And that's what we're talking about, right? Campaign number three, healthcare and Medicare. The topics there will be Medicare enrollment, IRMA, healthcare inflation, long-term care concerns. You know what? Healthcare is one of the most emotional subjects in retirement. Even financially successful retirees are worried about healthcare. They're asking themselves, "What if I get sick? How much will healthcare really cost? Oh my gosh, did I miss my Medicare enrollment window? What happens if one of us needs long-term care? Is healthcare going to derail my retirement?" And the interesting thing is, very few advisors consistently educate about healthcare. That means that the advisors that do immediately stand out. They are immediately sticking out like a sore thumb in a good way. And the objective isn't necessarily to become a Medicare expert overnight. The objective is, once again, just to be able to help help your prospects navigate uncertainty, thus turning them into clients. And the prospect there should feel reassuring. You want them saying, "Man, you know what? I never realized how many moving parts there are. Thank God for this advisor. Finally, I feel like someone's helping me connect the dots here." Your prospects and clients, they're not going to remember every statistic, and that's where healthcare education, you want to bring that into a part of your planning to help them feel protected. Campaign number four, market volatility. Your topics there are one of my favorites: sequence of returns, emotional investing, income strategies, retirement withdrawals. So, market volatility campaigns are some of the most valuable campaigns out there, because they allow you to educate during moments when emotions are running high, and when markets are unstable. You don't, the, your retirees aren't just simply checking their accounts because they're curious. They're checking because they're afraid. They're asking, can I still retire? What if that market does fall 20%, like the scary news media is telling me? Am I going to run out of money? Should I move everything to cash? And this is where educational campaigns become incredibly powerful, because they will not be reacting to product pitches here, because you are going to be leading with great perspective. So when you're teaching your prospects about sequence of return risk, you're teaching them how retirement is different than the accumulation phase. So the retirement phase is different than the accumulation phase. You're teaching them why having a income plan matters. And then most importantly, you got to help them understand that guess what? Volatility is just a part of investing. It's not the big bad devil out there that you've got to be, oh my God, concerned about. During volatility, your prospect should remain calm. You want your client saying, you know what, I was nervous before I watched this, but now I have a better understanding of what's happening and what my options are. Because once again, calm creates credibility. And then that credibility is what's going to create the long-term relationships. Campaign number 5, legacy and family planning. So these topics will be wealth transfer, beneficiaries, aging parents, helping adult children, family conversations. Here's what you're going to really discover from this: that retirement planning is really not about money, it's about people, it's about grandchildren, it's about aging parents, it's about making sure that the surviving spouse is going to be okay. My father-in-law recently 2 weeks ago experienced a stroke. He could barely speak, could barely move his right arm, his right leg. He kept he'd keep me after everybody left to make sure that his wife was being taken care of. He was making sure that I knew that this was in line. He was making sure that she knew about the bank accounts. Spouses want to make sure their spouses are taken care of, and leaving something meaningful behind, right? It- and what's also interesting is prospects often have questions out there that they haven't even verbalized yet. And those some of those questions are, wait a minute, are my beneficiaries set up correctly? And how do I actually correctly talk to my kids about inheritance? How do I do this without it being an emotional explosion? Or what happens if my parents need care? Can I help my children financially without jeopardizing my whole retirement? Will my family actually know what to do if something happens to me? The great thing about legacy campaigns, that they work because they tap into something that's deeper than financial returns. They address purpose, they address family, they address what matters to them most, their relationships. And once again, that experience you're trying to create isn't simply about education, it's connection. You want prospects leaving these conversations thinking, you know what, this advisor, she's not just helping me manage my money. She's helping me to take care of the people that I love and care about the most. And when your prospects see you in that way, you've moved well beyond, well, just a financial advisor. You've become a trusted partner in one of the most important seasons of their life. And finally, campaign number 6, retirement lifestyle and spending confidence. This is where you are building a retirement paycheck. Okay. Safe withdrawal strategies, travel and lifestyle goals, balancing enjoyment with financial security, the fear of running out of money. And then you're going to walk them through how spending actually changes throughout retirement. This is one of the most overlooked campaigns, in my opinion, because after years or even decades, actually, of saving and investing, many retirees struggle with an unexpected challenge. That unexpected challenge is actually spending the money they've worked so hard to accumulate. See that time and time again within my own family. You've heard, I'm sure you've heard it. Your clients say, can we really afford that trip? Well, Peggy, you've got $3 million. Like, yes, you can afford the $4,000 trip. Can we help our grandkids with college? How much can we spend and not get into trouble later? Well, actually, what happens if one of us lives longer than expected? Are we going to be okay? The reality is that most retirees don't necessarily fear dying. They fear running out of money while they're still alive. And for 40 years, society has conditioned them to save, delay gratification, prepare for the future, and then overnight, out of the blue, retirement's here, and all of a sudden I've got to reverse course and start spending those assets. That's a psychological, I mean, it messes with your brain. I am certain that is a struggle. So this campaign will give you the opportunity to shift that conversation away from investments and market volatility and all of that to lifestyle. You're going to help them understand that, you know what, retirement planning is not just about preserving assets, it's also about creating the freedom to enjoy the lifestyle that you've spent decades building. Let's talk about what retirement actually looks like. Let's talk about those travel plans. Let's talk about your hobbies. Let's talk about your family experiences. Let's get into your charitable goals. Let's talk about the tension between you and your family members and your children. That prospect overall should feel really, really empowering. You want someone leaving your seminar and finishing your podcast or reading your email thinking, you know what? For the first time ever, I feel like retirement's not just about numbers on a statement. It's actually about living the life that my spouse and I have imagined for years. Because retirement's not a financial goal. It's a life goal. And you, the advisor, when you can help your clients confidently enjoy their retirement instead of just surviving it, you want to talk about referrals. You want to talk about deep relationships. That's what we're talking about. And you got to make sure that you've got systems to execute because we can have all the great ideas in the world, but without systems, who cares? And this is where I see so many of you get stuck. I get it. You understand the importance of education, and you should be sending emails and social media and videos and all of that and staying in front of your prospects and clients. So the problem isn't lack of ideas. The problem is the execution. And I get it. So many of you are already wearing too many hats. You're meeting with clients, you're doing the prospecting, your operations, managing employees, compliance, seminars, and somewhere all of a sudden in the middle of that, you're supposed to become this marketer and content creator. This is why systems matter. Because educational campaigns only work when they are consistent. And consistency is impossible without automation. Here's the framework on how it should work. Every month, create one educational email, one short video, one podcast, one downloadable guide, 3 to 5 social media posts. So, what I want you to recognize here, you don't need to reinvent the wheel every month. You're doing the same thing every month with different topics. So, let's just say it's Social Security. That one topic is the email, video, checklist, social media, webinar, talking points for your meetings. So it's one idea, but 6 assets. So once again, you're not necessarily creating more content. You're maximizing the content that you should already have. The reality is, if all of this depends on sticky notes and spreadsheets and hoping to remember, it's not going to happen. Promise you. That's why you have to have the right CRM system, the right automation platform. That's essential because it's not about sending just one great email. It's about being sure you're delivering the right message to the right person at the right time over and over and over again without you or your team having to manually manage every single touch point. This is exactly why we use Prism as our CRM and Loop as our marketing manager with our advisors. Prism would be the central hub for your business. So it allows you to organize your prospects, automate your follow-ups, track your opportunities, which is really, really awesome. Assign your tasks and ensure that nobody's falling through the cracks. So think about it. What happens when somebody attends a seminar? What happens when somebody downloads your Social Security guide? What happens when a client tells you that, excuse me, a prospect mentions that they're retiring in the next 18 months? What happens when someone expresses interest in Roth conversions or Medicare planning? Without systems, once they leave the room, that opportunity disappears. That's right. That's why with the right CRM, every action creates the next step automatically. And then with Loop, which is going to allow you to implement all of the ongoing educational campaigns without having to recreate everything from scratch every month. So just imagine this. You got a prospect attend a seminar. You are immediately entering them into a series of educational touch points. They're receiving the emails, videos, checklists, invitations to attend future workshops. They continue to hear your voice, seeing your expertise. This was a month ago they attended the seminar. For whatever reason, they didn't set the appointment. We are building credibility here through repetition, through consistency. And when the prospect thinks, I keep hearing from this advisor, but what's awesome is they continue to provide me with valuable information. Look at how organized they are. They clearly have a process. That's the experience you're wanting to create. Because you don't want to just educate well. You want to build a system that allows you to educate at scale. And and the secret is consistency beats brilliance. Trust me, I know. A simple educational email every month for 3 years is going to outperform one incredible seminar followed by silence. So the advisor who wins over the next decade is not going to be the smartest advisor. It's going to be the advisor with the best systems. Period. Guaranteed. There's another layer that I think a lot of advisors underestimate. We're not talking about just simply generating prospects. Overall, we're also talking about strengthening your relationship with your current clients, deepening trust, and you want to create a system that is incredibly difficult for your competitors to replicate. So think about the experience that most clients have with financial professionals out there. They hear from them once a year, maybe twice a year, maybe a quarterly statement, maybe they have an annual review. That's about it. But let's talk about a different experience, a helpful educational email every month, a short video from you while they're having their morning coffee, listening to your podcast on their drive home, downloading your retirement checklist. They're getting educational content that answer questions that they didn't even know they had. And then over time, you'll see that something fascinating happens. Your relationships start to evolve. You all of a sudden stop just being that person that's managing their investments. And most importantly, you become the person that they naturally talk about to friends and family. They're forwarding your articles to their neighbors. They're sharing their podcast with their children. They're sitting around the dinner table saying, "You know what? Susan sent us the most interesting article this week. I want to make sure that we share that with Bob and Susie next week." That changes everything because referrals aren't just created when people are impressed. They are created when people are confident recommending you. That's just like you. That's exactly how you refer people as well. When your clients are proud of forwarding your content to someone they care about, that is something you should be very, very confident in. So you got to ask yourself this question: are my clients proud forwarding my content? Would they forward it to someone they care about? If not, let's fix it. Let's fix it. Let's build a business that will continue growing for years to come. So today's conversation has you thinking about how to improve your educational systems, your marketing campaigns, your overall client experience. I want to give you a practical next step, and that next step is what we've created. It's called a marketing and brand audit. It's an opportunity for our team to take an objective look at your business and to help you identify where you're winning and most importantly, where you may need to improve. So there's opportunities there. During the audit, we're going to be asking questions like, hey, how effectively do you think you're educating prospects and clients? What does your seminar and event strategy actually look like? Are you maximizing social media, email, video? Do you have automated systems in place for follow-ups? Is your CRM system helping you grow, or is it just simply acting as a digital filing cabinet? And is your branding and messaging helping you actually stand out in a increasingly crowded white noise marketplace? And are there any gaps in your client experience that could be costing you referrals and opportunities? So we'll walk you through all of that. To request the marketing and brand audit, head out to our website, which is simply evolvewithgradient.com/ignite team. Again, that's evolvewithgradient.com/ignite team. And the advisors who will be thriving over the next decade, they're not the ones that are just product experts. They're educators. They're communicators. They are the leaders in their communities. If you'd like to know how your current systems stack up, we love the opportunity to help there. Before we wrap up today's episode, I want to say something directly to everyone that's listening today. Thank you. Thank you for the countless client meetings. Thank you for the difficult conversations. Thank you for helping families navigate retirement. Thank you for serving your communities. The work that you do matters. And helping someone retire confidently isn't just a simple financial transaction. It is quite literally one of the most meaningful responsibilities that a person can have. And whether people tell you often enough or not, that the impact that you are making out there extends far beyond account balances and portfolios. So keep educating, keep simplifying, keep building trust, keep showing up for the people who depend on you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to like the episode, follow the show, subscribe so you never miss future content, and most importantly, share this episode with your firm, because improving systems and processes and overall client experiences doesn't happen by accident. It happens when a great advisor commits to getting better each and every single day. Thank you again for joining us on Unfiltered and Unstoppable, Real Strategies for Real Advisors. I'm Rob Romesburg. We'll see you next time.
The opinions herein may be from personal experience and may not necessarily be those of the Gradient Financial Group, its employees, or affiliates. Any results, topics, or outcomes are for informational purposes only. Financial professional use only. Rob Romesburg does not render tax, legal, or accounting advice and is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency.